Have you ever wondered why two people can begin at exactly the same place? The same opportunities, the same struggles, the same starting conditions, and years later, one is living a life that matters, while the other is still asking, what happened to my dreams? The answer is not talent. It is not luck. It is not who they knew or where they started. The answer is identity. Write this down. The person you become will always determine the life you eventually live. I said the person you become will always determine the life you eventually live. We live in a world obsessed with results, with bigger salaries, larger platforms, faster growth. We celebrate the harvest, but ignore the roots that produced it. We applaud the victory, but overlook the years of preparation behind it. And because of that, most people spend their lives trying to change their circumstances while neglecting the one thing that has the greatest power to change everything else: themselves. Write this down. Success can happen by accident. Success can come through talent or timing or favorable conditions. But lasting excellence, the kind that holds under pressure, the kind that sustains under success, the kind that continues when the conditions are no longer favorable, that only belongs to people whose identity has been transformed. Today, I want to speak to you about this. Improve yourself until excellence becomes your identity. Not improve yourself until people applaud you. Not improve yourself until you become wealthy. Not improve yourself until you gain influence. Improve yourself until excellence becomes your identity. Until doing your best is no longer something you force yourself to do, but something that naturally flows from who you are. Until integrity becomes your instinct. Until discipline becomes your lifestyle. Until faithfulness becomes your reputation. Until excellence is no longer an act you perform. It becomes the person you have become. Write this down. There is an enormous difference between doing excellent things and becoming an excellent person. Anyone can produce one excellent performance. Anyone can have one successful year. Anyone can make one good decision. But excellence as an identity means you consistently bring your best into every room you enter, every assignment you receive, every relationship you build, and every opportunity that comes before you. Excellence stops being an event and becomes your standard. Now, here is where most people miss this. They chase results instead of transformation. They spend years trying to improve their income without improving their thinking. They want influence without integrity. They want promotion without preparation. They want the blessing without becoming the kind of person who can manage the blessing wisely. And then they wonder why everything they build eventually falls apart. It is because what is built faster than character can support will eventually collapse under its own weight. Write this down. Your identity quietly governs every decision you make. You may fool people with your words, but your identity always reveals itself through your habits. If deep inside you see yourself as average, your decisions will eventually reflect average thinking. If you believe you are incapable, you will hesitate every time opportunity knocks. If you secretly believe you are not worthy of something greater, you will unconsciously pull away from the very things you said you wanted. But imagine what happens when that changes. Imagine approaching every assignment with the conviction that your work represents something. Imagine refusing to settle because you understand that mediocrity is beneath what you were designed to produce. Suddenly your conversations change. Your habits change. Your standards change. Your priorities change. Not because someone forced you to improve, but because your identity changed. Write this down. Excellence is never built in one dramatic moment. It is built in thousands of ordinary moments that most people never see. Think about the people you admire most, the great leaders, the respected builders, the effective contributors. We celebrate the performance but overlook the preparation. We admire the confidence but forget the years of practice in private. We applaud the finished product while remaining blind to the process that created it. Excellence always has a hidden story. Behind every extraordinary life are thousands of ordinary decisions, repeated with extraordinary consistency. The person who wakes up before they have to, the person who prepares before they need to, the person who finishes what they started when stopping would have been easier. This is where many people get frustrated. They want instant results. In a world that operates through faithful daily action, they become discouraged because they compare their beginning with someone else's middle. They forget that every massive tree was once a seed. Greatness is never built overnight. It is built one faithful day at a time. Think about two people given the same assignment. One completes the work only because someone is watching. The other gives their best even when nobody is paying attention. Months later, who gets trusted with more? The second person. Why? Because excellence is already part of their character. Their standard is not controlled by supervision. It is controlled by conviction. That is the difference. Write this down. The little things matter far more than most people think. The way you manage your time matters. The way you speak to people matters. The way you prepare when nobody is watching matters. The way you finish what you started matters. The way you keep your word matters. Many people are waiting for a bigger opportunity while neglecting what they already have. But the way you handle small things reveals whether you are ready for large ones. If you cannot bring excellence to where you are now, greater things will only expose what you have not yet built. Write this down. Faithfulness in small things is the qualification for large ones. Now let me say something about the mind, because this is where everything begins. The decisions you make tomorrow are already being shaped by what you are consistently thinking today. Your habits began as thoughts. Your character is built from repeated decisions, and those decisions are processed first in your mind. If the thinking is limited, the results become limited. This is why changing behavior without changing belief is like painting over a cracked wall. It may look better for a season, but eventually the cracks reappear because the foundation was never repaired. Real change is not produced by pressure. It is produced by renewal. When your thinking changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your habits change. When your habits change, your character changes. When your character changes, your entire life begins reflecting something new. Think about what you consistently feed your mind. Whatever enters your mind repeatedly eventually influences your identity. Your mind is like fertile soil. It does not decide whether the seed is good or bad. It simply grows whatever is planted repeatedly. If you consistently plant fear, fear grows. If you consistently plant doubt, doubt grows. But if you consistently plant truth, wisdom, and discipline, those things grow too. So what are you planting daily? Because what you think about consistently eventually becomes the person you are. Write this down. No one accidentally develops an excellent mindset. It is built intentionally. Every day you must decide what you will allow to influence your thinking. Every day you must reject thoughts that weaken you and choose thoughts that move you forward. Every day you must refuse to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Guard your mind as carefully as you guard anything valuable, because everything you become tomorrow is quietly being formed by what you are thinking today. Now, here is something important I want you to understand. A renewed mind gives you a new direction, but daily discipline is what keeps you moving in that direction. You can be inspired today and still be inconsistent tomorrow. You can attend every seminar, read every book, absorb every idea, and if those ideas never become daily habits, nothing truly changes. Information can inspire you for a moment, but discipline transforms you for a lifetime. Write this down. Dreams without discipline remain dreams. Vision without discipline becomes frustration. The future you desire is created by the disciplines you embrace today. Let me give you a picture. Imagine two people who both genuinely want to grow. One says, I will start improving when the timing is better, when I have more resources, when conditions are more favorable. The other says, I will start today with what I have, where I am. Years later, the first person is still waiting. The second has learned things, overcome obstacles, develop skills, and become someone the first person now admires. Not because the second person was more talented, but because they chose to begin while the other chose to wait. Write this down. Readiness is often the result of beginning, not the requirement for beginning. Most people believe confidence comes before action. In reality, confidence usually comes after repeated action. You do not become excellent before you practice excellence. You become excellent through the practice. You do not develop courage before you do the difficult thing. Courage develops in the doing. Perfect conditions almost never arrive. And the person who waits for them eventually watches their best years pass without becoming who they were designed to be. So whatever you have been postponing, start where you are. Use what you have. Take the first step. Because one faithful step today is worth more than 1,000 intentions delayed until tomorrow. Write this down. Now, let me speak about something that determines whether everything else lasts. Character. You can build incredible skill and still destroy what you create if your character has not developed alongside your ability. We have all seen it. Talented people who lose what they built because of decisions that should never have been made. And the reason is always the same. The building rose faster than the character could support it. So let me ask you a direct question. If everything you have been working toward arrived today, would your character be ready to carry it? Not your ability, your character, because those are two completely different things. Ability says, can I do this? Character says, can I be trusted with this? And the answer to the second question is built through something you probably do not celebrate enough. The small, private, unwitnessed acts of faithfulness. The moment when dishonesty would have been easier and you were honest. The moment when a shortcut was available and you did the real work. The moment when no one would have known and you kept your word anyway. Each of those moments builds something. Trust. And trust, genuine trust, is one of the most financially, relationally, and professionally valuable things a person can possess. It cannot be purchased. It cannot be performed. It can only be earned slowly through consistent behavior over long enough time that people have seen it hold under pressure. Write this down. Character is the source of trust. And trust is the currency that opens doors. That talent alone cannot open. The most trusted people in every field are not always the most gifted. They are the ones who have been around long enough, who have been tested enough for people to know that they are the same person in private as they present themselves in public. Build that. Not for the recognition, for the foundation. Because what is built on a foundation of genuine character does not collapse when pressure arrives. Write this down. There is something else I want you to understand about excellence that most people overlook. Excellence is not a destination you arrive at. It is a lifestyle you commit to. The moment you stop improving is the moment you begin declining. Yesterday's excellence cannot sustain tomorrow's challenges. The world changes. Responsibilities expand. Opportunities shift. And if you refuse to grow with them, the level you once reached can become the level that limits you. This is why excellent people remain genuinely curious about what they do not yet know. They receive correction without becoming defensive. They adjust when the evidence calls for it. They never confuse the fact that they have achieved something with the belief that they have finished growing. Consider this practically. Imagine two people who receive the exact same criticism. One becomes defensive. They say, "They just do not understand me." The other asks honestly, "Is there something here I can actually use?" The first protects their pride. The second grows stronger. The difference is not intelligence. It is the willingness to remain teachable. Write this down. Excellence always calls you forward, not because what you have achieved is not real, but because there is always more that God placed inside you that the world has not yet seen. The path of the person committed to excellence is not a circle returning to the same place. It is a path that grows brighter as it goes. Every challenge teaches something. Every setback reveals something. Every mistake received honestly builds something that success alone cannot build. And every morning is another opportunity to become slightly more than you were the day before. Write this down. There is a final thing I want to say, and I want you to hold it carefully. Excellence is not ultimately about you. The reason excellence matters, the reason improving yourself is worth the sustained, difficult effort, is not so that you can look impressive. It is because of what you contribute to every person whose life connects with yours. The family that watches how you handle difficulty. The colleagues who observe how you treat people when nothing is being offered in return. The community that notices whether you do what you said you would do. When excellence becomes your identity, you stop simply taking up space in a room. You raise the standard of it. You become the person who brings solutions rather than adding to the problems. The person who finishes what they started rather than adding to the list of unfinished things. The person who can be counted on, not because they performed when it mattered, but because performing is simply what they do. That is the person God is building you to become. Not overnight, not in one dramatic choice, in the thousands of small ones that nobody else sees, made consistently over months and years, until the day when what was quietly built inside you becomes impossible for the world around you to ignore. Start today. Improve your thinking. Improve your habits. Improve your character. Improve how you treat the people around you. And refuse to stop until excellence is not something you do, but something you are. Let me add one more thing before this message ends, because there is a trap that intelligent, ambitious people fall into, and I want to name it clearly so that you can avoid it. The trap is this: they pursue excellence in the visible areas of their life. The career, the skill, the platform, while neglecting excellence in the invisible ones. The private decisions, the unseen habits, the character that no one reviews, but that quietly governs everything else. And the result is always the same. The visible rises faster than the invisible can support. And eventually, sometimes publicly, sometimes privately, what was built on an incomplete foundation begins to show the cracks. Not because the visible work was not real, but because the invisible foundation was not ready. So here is what I want to challenge you with directly. Think about your life in two categories. Category one, what people can see. Your work, your performance, your output, your results. Category two, what only you can see. Your private habits, your integrity when no one is watching. The quality of your thinking when it costs you something to think clearly. The consistency of your character when maintaining it offers no external reward. Now ask yourself honestly, which category are you developing more consistently? Because the category that determines everything is the second one. Not because the first does not matter, but because the first always reflects the second. Eventually, the private excellence always shows up in the public life, sooner or later, and the private compromise always does too. Write this down. Who you are when no one is watching is who you actually are. And the person you actually are is the person whose life you are actually living. So build the invisible as intentionally as you build the visible. Guard the private with the same care you bring to the public. Hold the standard in the moments that offer no recognition, with the same commitment you bring to the moments that do. Because that level of consistency, that unwillingness to become a different person, depending on who is in the room, is what excellence as an identity actually looks like. And it is available to you, starting with the next decision you make, whether anyone is watching or not. Let me give you something specific to do after this message ends. Because a message about excellence that does not give you something concrete to apply has only inspired you temporarily. And temporary inspiration is not transformation. Every morning before the day fully begins, answer these three questions honestly. Question one: what is the one area of my life where I have been settling for less than my best? Not the most comfortable answer, the honest one. Maybe it is how you manage your time. Maybe it is the quality of work you put in on the thing you said matters most to you. Maybe it is how you treat a specific person in your life. Name it. Write it down. Question two: What is the one thing I can do today to bring a higher standard to that area? Not the full transformation, the one next thing. Something specific. Something today-sized. Question 3. At the end of today, will I have done it? Those 3 questions answered honestly every morning will change you over time. Not because they are magic, but because they make what is usually unconscious conscious. They close the gap between who you say you want to be and the daily choices that reveal who you actually are. And that gap seen clearly, regularly, becomes uncomfortable enough to close. One morning at a time. One decision at a time. One day at a time. Write this down. Excellence is built daily, or it is not built at all. It does not happen through occasional effort. It does not come from inspiration alone. It does not arrive without the consistent daily work of becoming. But here is what compounds. Each day that you bring genuine effort to becoming better, even when the result is not yet visible, build something real. And the something it builds is the person who weeks, months, years from now, others will recognize has genuinely changed. Not because you announced it, because it shows in how you work, in how you speak, in how you respond when things are difficult, in how you treat people when treating them well costs you something. That is excellence as identity. That is what you are building toward, one ordinary day at a time. Let me close with something honest. Most people who hear a message like this feel genuinely motivated for a short time. And then, usually within days, the feeling fades. The routine returns. The old patterns reassert themselves. And the message becomes another thing they heard. That did not change anything. I want to help you avoid that. The reason inspiration fades is not that the truth was wrong. It is that inspiration alone was never enough. Inspiration opens a door. It shows you what is possible. It gives you a glimpse of the person you could become. But only discipline walks through the door and keeps walking through it every day, whether it feels meaningful or not. So here's the most practical thing I can offer you. Do not try to change everything after this message. Do not write a list of 20 things you are going to improve. Pick one, the one that landed most specifically when I was speaking. The one that your spirit recognized. The one you know, if you were honest, has been the most neglected. That one, commit to bringing genuine excellence to that one thing for the next 30 days. Not forever, 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, evaluate honestly. Did it change? Did you change? Because 30 days of genuine consistency in one specific area of your life will teach you more about what is possible than any amount of inspiration ever could. It will show you that you are capable of becoming someone different, not through dramatic transformation, but through the quiet, daily, consistent work of choosing who you want to be. That is where excellence is built. In the 30 days, in the small daily decisions, in the ordinary moments that become extraordinary, because you decided to bring your best to them. Go build it. There is one more thing I want to say before you move on from this message. I want to speak to the person who has tried before, who has been inspired before, who has committed before, who has started the practice and then stopped. You are not disqualified. The fact that you tried and did not sustain it does not mean the capacity is not there. It means the method was incomplete, because sustained transformation does not come from motivation. It comes from building systems that make the right behavior easier than the wrong one, from making the next step so small. That resistance cannot find a reason to stop it, from building enough consistency in good moments that the difficult moments have something to return to. Every person who has built genuine character has also failed at it at some point. They started and stopped. They committed and fell back. They made the right decision and then later made the wrong one. The difference between people who ultimately transform and people who remain where they started is not that some never failed. It is that some kept returning. After every failure, they returned to the standard. After every setback, they renewed the commitment. After every day, where the old pattern won, they chose the better pattern the next morning. That returning, that consistent, patient, non-dramatic act of coming back is itself the practice of excellence. Write this down. Excellence is not what you do when everything is easy. Excellence is what you return to every time you fail to do it. So return to the standard, to the commitment, to the 30 days, to the daily question, to the daily choice. One more time, and then one more time after that, until the returning becomes so natural that there's less and less to return from, until the excellence becomes so habitual that the identity has actually shifted. That is when the change is real. That is when it lasts. That is when you look back and recognize that you have actually become someone different from who you were. Not because of one message, because of 10,000 daily decisions made in the direction of who you wanted to be. Go make the next one. Stay with this channel. More truth is coming. This is Motivation Insights, and we will see you in the next one.